Kody Brown thought his fake apology tour was going to save his reputation. He thought showing up on Sister Wives with tears in his eyes and regret in his voice would make everyone forget about the decades of abandonment, manipulation, and flat-out cruelty he put his families through. But here's the thing. His own daughter, MyKelti Brown, and her husband, Tony Padron, just torched that entire performance to the ground, and they didn't hold back. MyKelti and Tony sat down and watched footage of Kody on Special Forces, and what they noticed was absolutely jaw-dropping. MyKelti admitted something that should shake every Sister Wives fan to their core. She said her dad actually seemed like himself on Special Forces, like the father she remembered growing up, and why? Because Robyn wasn't there. Let that sink in for a second. Kody's own daughter is telling the world that her father only acts like a decent human being when Robyn Brown isn't around to control him. Tony backed her up immediately, dropping an even bigger bomb. He revealed that when Kody's on Sister Wives, he's usually playing the villain to protect Robyn. He's covering for her, he's pretending he made decisions that she actually made. He's taking the heat for her manipulative behavior so she can sit back and play the victim while the internet tears him apart. And the wildest part, Kody's doing it willingly, but it gets so much worse. Because MyKelti and Tony didn't just expose Robyn's control over Kody. They exposed the entire system that keeps Kody estranged from 13 of his 18 children. They revealed the real reason reconciliation will never happen, and it all comes back to Robyn. See, when Kody was on Special Forces, he took accountability. He admitted his failures with his kids were his fault. He seemed genuine, he seemed ready to change. But the second he got home and talked to Robyn, everything shifted. Suddenly, he had a completely different story. Suddenly, it wasn't his fault anymore. Robyn told him he was being too hard on himself. She told him he didn't need to apologize for things he said when he was upset. And just like that, accountability vanished. Then came the real manipulation. Robyn made it clear that if Kody wanted to reconcile with his kids, those kids needed to have a relationship with her too, and Tony called it out perfectly. He explained that Kody hears that as a package deal. Either the kids accept both of them, or Kody won't pursue a relationship at all. And since the kids want nothing to do with Robyn, guess what happens? Kody gets the perfect excuse to stay estranged while pretending it's not his fault. MyKelti and Tony just handed us the blueprint to Kody and Robyn's entire toxic dynamic. And trust me, what comes next is gonna blow your mind. MyKelti Brown dropped a truth bomb that nobody saw coming, and honestly, it explains everything. She was watching Special Forces with Tony, and she made this observation that should have Kody Brown absolutely spiraling. She said that anything Kody says on Special Forces feels more true to who her dad actually is than anything he says on Sister Wives. And then she asked the question that changes the entire narrative. Is it possible that the version of Kody we saw on Special Forces is more authentic because Robyn isn't there? Tony immediately jumped in with what he called a spicy hot take. He said the reason we're seeing the dad MyKelti remembers is because Robyn's not there influencing him. And here's why that matters so much. On Special Forces, Kody didn't have his spouse watching. He didn't have his kids judging him. He didn't have anyone holding him accountable except himself and the show staff. So he didn't have to worry about impressing anybody. He didn't have to protect anyone's image. He just had to be himself. And what happened when Kody was just himself? He took accountability, he admitted his failures with his children, he owned his role in the family's destruction, he looked like a man who actually understood the pain he caused. For the first time in years, viewers saw glimpses of the father MyKelti remembered from childhood. Not the angry, defensive, blame-shifting version we see every week on Sister Wives, but the actual human being underneath all that dysfunction. But then Tony revealed something even more damaging. He explained that on Sister Wives, Kody's entire performance is about protecting Robyn. He's covering for her bad behavior. He's pretending he made decisions that she actually orchestrated. He's playing the villain so she doesn't have to face the consequences of her manipulation. And MyKelti backed this up completely, making it clear that her dad's behavior on the show is a calculated performance designed to shield Robyn from accountability. Think about what that means. Every time Kody blows up at his ex-wives, every time he refuses to see his kids, every time he deflects blame and plays the victim, there's a strong chance Robyn's pulling the strings behind the scenes. She's the puppet master, and Kody's so desperate to keep her happy that he'll destroy his own reputation to protect hers. He'll let the entire world hate him if it means Robyn stays safe from criticism. MyKelti recognized that her dad acts differently around Robyn. She sees how Robyn demands so much from him. She understands that their codependent relationship has completely warped Kody's ability to function as an independent person. And the most heartbreaking heartbreaking part? MyKelti knows that as long as Robyn's in the picture, her dad will never be the person he could be. He'll never take real accountability. He'll never rebuild relationships with his estranged children, because Robyn won't allow it. And the evidence MyKelti is about to present makes that reality impossible to deny. The pattern MyKelti and Tony exposed is absolutely chilling when you really think about it. Cody takes accountability when Robyn's not around, but the second he gets back under her influence, everything changes. And we saw this play out in real time after Special Forces. Cody came home from that experience genuinely reflecting on his failures. He admitted on camera that losing his relationships with his children was his fault. He seemed ready to do the work, but then he talked to Robyn. And what did Robyn say? She told him he was being too hard on himself. She said he didn't need to apologize for things he said when he was upset. She basically gave him permission to backtrack on every single moment of accountability he'd shown on Special Forces, and Cody took that permission and ran with it. Suddenly, his kids were the problem again. Suddenly, he was the victim again. Suddenly, reconciliation became impossible because of everyone else's failures, not his. But the truly sinister part came when Cody asked Robyn about going to therapy and possibly reconnecting with his kids. Her response was absolutely calculated. She said, if you believe these relationships have value, yes, let that sink in. She's placing conditional value on Cody's own children. She's suggesting that maybe these relationships aren't worth pursuing. And for a man as desperate for validation as Cody, that kind of statement carries massive weight. Then Robyn dropped the real manipulation. She made it clear that if Cody wants to reconcile with his kids, those kids need to have a relationship with her too. And here's what makes that so twisted. Robyn knows full well that the kids don't want anything to do with her. She knows they blame her for breaking up the family. She knows they see through her victim act and her manipulation tactics. So by making her relationship with them a requirement for Cody's relationship with them, she's essentially guaranteeing that reconciliation will never happen. MyKelti spelled it out perfectly. Her issues with her dad are directly tied to her issues with Robyn, and she's not alone. Multiple Brown children have made it clear that Robyn's presence in their father's life is the primary barrier to any kind of relationship restoration. They watched Robyn convince Cody to abandon their mothers. They watched her monopolize his time, his resources, and his emotional energy. They watched her play the damsel in distress while their siblings went without. And now she's acting like she deserves their love and respect? Tony understood exactly what Robyn was doing, even if he didn't want to fully acknowledge the intentionality behind it. He recognized that when Robyn tells Cody the kids need to have a relationship with her, she's handing Cody the perfect excuse to avoid his children, because Cody will absolutely use that as justification. He'll say he tried, but the kids rejected Robyn, so what was he supposed to do? And just like that, Robyn's manipulation gives Cody the out he's been looking for all along. But the pain MyKelti revealed next shows just how deep this damage really goes. MyKelti didn't hold back when she explained why reconciliation between Cody and his estranged children is basically impossible at this point, and her reasoning cuts right to the heart of why Cody's fake apology tour was doomed from the start. She said there are so many years of hurt and hardship and anger and misunderstanding that you can't fix something by just saying you should go reach out. You should make an effort if you value your relationship, because it's more than that. You need to do more when there are years and years and years of issues and problems and heartache. She explained that you can't just reach out and say make an effort. There's so much more required. There are actions you have to take. There's accountability you have to hold. And there's a lot that goes into rebuilding trust after decades of abandonment. MyKelti acknowledged that on the surface level, Robyn says the right things. She tells Cody to make an effort with his kids because they need him. She acts supportive, but MyKelti sees right through it. She knows there's just too much damage, too much history, too many unresolved traumas. And here's the part that really exposes the impossible situation these kids are in. MyKelti said that if they want to have a relationship with their dad, there are a lot of things that Cody and Robyn need to be held accountable for. And that accountability requirement is different for each kid depending on their individual experiences. Some kids need Cody to acknowledge abandoning them for Robyn. Others need him to own the financial devastation he caused their mothers. Some need him to admit he never bonded with them in the first place. MyKelti referenced something Maddie said earlier this season that perfectly captures the catch-22. Maddie said she would accept an apology from Cody, but that doesn't mean she would reestablish a relationship with him, because the only way she would let him back into her life is if he showed a pattern of consistency and follow-through and showing up. And MyKelti's confident that Maddie knows he he's not going to do that. So Maddie can set that boundary knowing full well her father will never meet it. Think about how sad that is. These kids have been so conditioned to expect nothing from Cody that they can safely say what reconciliation would require, knowing he'll never deliver. Maddie's not going to let him waltz back into her life in North Carolina and play dad for a weekend before disappearing again. She's not giving him access to her children so he can repeat the cycle of neglect with another generation. She knows who Cody is. She knows he's consistently inconsistent with all 18 of his kids. And MyKelti made it brutally clear that Cody didn't have tight relationships with his kids even when they were being raised. He was always gone, he was never around, so if he didn't bond with them then, why would he suddenly prioritize them now? Especially when Robyn's giving him every excuse not to. The foundation was never there, and without that foundation, there's nothing to rebuild. The abandonment MyKelti's about to describe makes Cody's neglect even more inexcusable. The truth about Cody's parenting is so much worse than most people realize, and MyKelti just laid it all out. Kody Brown has 18 children, 18 human beings he brought into this world, and he was never really there for most of them. He was consistently inconsistent, which is probably the most damaging kind of parent you can have. At least if someone's fully absent, you can grieve that loss and move on. But Cody gave his kids just enough presents to make them hope, and then he'd disappear again, over and over for decades. MyKelti explained that Cody was always traveling for work. He sold ice cream for a company called Schwann's for a while, and then he worked in signs, selling advertising. But the key detail is he was never home. He would be gone traveling for weeks at a time. Then he'd come home for a couple days, barely connect with anyone, and leave again. And during those years, Janelle actually left the family for 5 years. 5 years. So these kids spent massive chunks of their childhood essentially fatherless. Maddie talked about this on her podcast, and the details are heartbreaking. When she was 6 years old, she was the one helping her mom change diapers and take care of her younger siblings. 6 years old. That responsibility was placed on her because her dad wasn't around to do it. She became a parent to her own siblings before she even started elementary school. And that kind of parentification causes lifelong trauma that no apology tour can fix. Here's what makes Cody's situation even more damaging. He had so many kids in such a short period of time with multiple partners, and those partners were fighting with each other for his time and attention. They were all competing for the same limited resources. The family lived in severe poverty for years. The wives were constantly at war, and Cody was checked out. So not only did these kids not have a present father, they also grew up in chaos and dysfunction and financial instability. And when you don't bond with your children during their formative years, you likely never will. Cody himself has admitted he didn't bond with many of his kids. He's acknowledged that he struggled to connect. And when you add up all those factors, absent father, fighting mothers, poverty, chaos, it makes perfect sense that Cody would look at these children now and not feel particularly attached to them. They're almost like strangers to him, people he created but never really knew. MyKelti pointed out something that's absolutely chilling. If Cody has no bond with them and never established that bond, he doesn't see value in having a relationship with them now. It's easier for him to look at them as not fully human, as obligations he failed rather than people he loves. And when you view your children that way, abandoning them becomes significantly easier. You're not walking away from relationships, you're just cutting loose responsibilities you never wanted in the first place. But the way Robyn's manipulated this entire situation makes Cody's abandonment even more calculated than it appears. Tony Padron exposed something so critical about Cody and Robyn's dynamic that it explains everything about why reconciliation will never happen, and it all comes down to what Tony calls the package deal. He explained that a relationship with Cody means a relationship with Robyn, period. That's how Cody sees it, that's how he's always seen it. And Robyn knows this, which makes her manipulation even more sinister. Tony was reacting to the part of the episode from a couple weeks ago when Robyn told Cody it was important for the kids to reestablish a relationship with him and to have a relationship with her. And Tony called out exactly what happens in Cody's brain when he hears that. Tony said that from his experience, Cody internally couples those two relationships. So when the kids want a relationship with him but reject Robyn, Cody hears that as rejection of him too. He thinks, well, you don't want her, so you don't really want me either. And then he feels stuck. He feels like he doesn't know how to move forward, so he just doesn't move forward at all. MyKelti jumped in immediately and confirmed what Tony was saying. She said with their dad, it's a package deal. It's Robyn and Cody together. It's not just Cody. And here's the crucial part. That's not what Robyn's saying out loud. She's not explicitly telling Cody that the kids have to accept both of them or neither of them. But that is how Cody interprets her words. And MyKelti made it clear that he always will because he's super protective over Robyn and he so desperately wants it to be the two of them against the world. Think about how twisted this is. Robyn's smart enough to phrase things in a way that sounds reasonable on the surface, surface. She's not saying the kids can't have a relationship with Kody unless they accept her. She's just casually mentioning that it would be important for the kids to have a relationship with her too. But she knows exactly how Cody's going to process that information. She knows he's going to make it a requirement in his own mind. And that gives her plausible deniability. She can act like she never created this barrier while simultaneously ensuring the barrier stays firmly in place. Tony almost seemed reluctant to fully acknowledge the intentionality behind Robyn's manipulation. He clearly sees what she's doing, but he's trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. He's saying that's not what she's saying, but that is how Dad takes it. But here's the thing. Robyn's been married to Kody long enough to know exactly how he thinks. She knows how he processes information. She knows his triggers and his defenses and his weaknesses. So when she makes these seemingly innocent comments about the kids needing a relationship with her, she knows the effect it's gonna have. And MyKelti's about to reveal just how calculated Robyn's manipulation really is. Here's where the manipulation gets absolutely undeniable. If Robyn knows the way Kody thinks, and she absolutely does after all these years together, then she knows exactly what she's doing when she makes her relationship with the kids a condition of his reconciliation with them. She knows that to Kody it's a package deal. She knows he won't pursue relationships with kids who reject her, and most importantly, she knows full well that the kids don't want anything to do with her. So let's walk through the logic here. Robyn tells Kody that it's important for him to have a relationship with his estranged children. That sounds supportive, right? But then she adds the caveat that it's also important for those children to have a relationship with her. And she knows those kids want nothing to do with her. She knows they blame her for the family's destruction. She knows they watched her monopolize Kody's time and resources while their mothers struggled. So by making her relationship with them a requirement, she's essentially guaranteed that Kody won't reconcile with them. And here's the most manipulative part. She's made that choice for him while appearing completely innocent. She gets to look like the supportive wife who's encouraging Kody to reconnect with his kids. Meanwhile, she's set up an impossible barrier that ensures reconciliation will never happen, because the kids are going to reject her. Kody's going to interpret that rejection as rejection of him, and then he's going to give up on the whole thing while blaming the kids for being unwilling to accept his wife. Robyn wants nothing to do with these kids either. She never has. They represent the messy reality of Kody's past. They're reminders that he had full lives and families before her. They're people who see through her victim act and her manipulation. They're threats to the insular little world she's built with Kody, where she's the only wife that matters and her kids are the only kids that matter. So of course she doesn't want Kody rebuilding relationships with them. That would mean sharing his time and attention and resources again, and Robyn's made it very clear she's not willing to share. But she can't just tell Kody not to reconcile with his kids. That would make her look like the villain. So instead, she creates conditions she knows can't be met. She frames it as being reasonable and supportive, while actively sabotaging any possibility of reconciliation. And the most chilling part? Robyn admitted on this week's episode that she knows how she reacts and the information she gives to Kody can influence him negatively or positively. She literally confessed that she understands her power over him. So when Robyn tells Kody that the kids need a relationship with her, she's not making a random comment, she's pulling a lever. She's activating a trigger. She knows will shut down any reconciliation efforts. And she's doing it while maintaining her image as the devoted wife who just wants what's best for everyone. It's manipulation at its finest. And MyKelti's about to explain why this strategy works so perfectly on someone like Kody. MyKelti's analysis of Kody's personality explains exactly why Robyn's manipulation works so effectively. And honestly, it's pretty disturbing when you really think about it. MyKelti described Kody as a narcissist, which we all knew. But she went deeper than that. She said he's the kind of narcissist that just goes with whatever the supply he's with tells him at the time and says whatever that person wants to hear. She compared it to sociopathic behavior. You're with this person, so you tell them what they want to hear. You do whatever that person wants to meet their needs so you can get the supply you need. Then you move to the next person and do the exact same thing. That's why Kody acts so differently depending on who he's around. When he was on special forces away from Robyn, he acted more like himself because he wasn't being influenced by her. But when he's with Robyn, he mirrors her. He takes on her personality. He adopts her perspectives and her grievances and her version of reality. And MyKelti thinks that's because Kody lacks his own identity in a fundamental way. He's like a chameleon who becomes whoever he needs to be for the person in front of him. MyKelti admitted she's not a psychologist, but she's observed this pattern throughout her entire life. She's watched Cody engulf and take on whatever relationship and personality of the wife he's with at any given time. And if he's a malignant narcissist, that behavior actually makes perfect sense, because malignant narcissists often lack their own sense of self. They're empty inside, so they fill that emptiness by becoming whoever their current source of narcissistic supply needs them to be. And here's why that's so dangerous when it comes to Robyn. She knows exactly how to exploit that aspect of Cody's personality. She knows that if she plays the victim, he'll defend her. She knows that if she plays the damsel in distress, he'll protect her. She knows that if she makes her relationship with the kids contingent on his relationship with them, he'll internalize that as a package deal and use it as an excuse to avoid reconciliation. She can play into his lack of identity and essentially program him to do whatever she wants. MyKelti spelled it out perfectly. Robyn knows that if she makes reconciliation contingent on the kids having a relationship with her, and she knows they don't want a relationship with her, and she knows she doesn't want a relationship with them, then Cody's not gonna try, because it will be fruitless and meaningless. He'll go through the motions of his fake apology tour to manage his public image, but he won't actually do the sustained work required to rebuild trust with his children. Because Robyn's given him the perfect out, and his personality type is designed to take it. The whole system is set up to fail, and as MyKelti's about to explain, the way blame gets distributed in polygamy makes this dysfunction even worse. MyKelti revealed something really important about how blame gets assigned in polygamous families, and it explains why Robyn takes so much heat while Cody sometimes gets a pass he doesn't deserve. She said that so many of the Brown kids will not have a relationship with Robyn because of what she does, because of how she manipulates, because of how she plays games and pits people against each other. And that's all true. Robyn absolutely deserves accountability for her role in this family's destruction. But then MyKelti said something that cuts to the heart of the real problem. In polygamy, it's a lot easier to blame the woman than it is to blame the guy. And she thinks a lot of blame is cast onto Robyn fairly, but also unfairly, because ultimately, Cody deserves the brunt of it. He's the man. He's the one who made the choice to bring Robyn into the family. He's the one who chose to favor her over everyone else. He's the one who abandoned his other wives and children to build a new life with her. MyKelti explained that in polygamy, people are conditioned from a young age to blame the women when things go wrong. Because the women aren't the priesthood, they have no authority in the religious structure. The man is the priesthood holder. He's the one who's supposed to be righteous and guided by God. So even when he's clearly at fault, there's this ingrained tendency to find a way to blame the wives instead. It's easier, it's more culturally acceptable, and it protects the patriarchal power structure that polygamy is built on. Even though the Brown kids are out of that religious mindset now, those patterns don't just disappear. If you're taught from childhood that you're not supposed to speak poorly about your father, that you're not supposed to think badly about him, that he holds divine authority over your family, then even decades later it's going to be easier to direct your anger at the woman who influenced him rather than at him directly. The easier path is to blame Robyn, and that's exactly what many of the Brown children have done. But MyKelti wants people to understand that Robyn does have culpability here. She's not innocent, she absolutely manipulates and controls and creates chaos, but ultimately it's Cody's responsibility. He's the one who chooses to allow a woman to get in the middle of his relationships with his children. That's his choice. He's made that choice repeatedly for over a decade, and he wouldn't be the first person to leave a family, divorce the kids, and move on with a new life. Unfortunately, that happens all the time. Kids get left behind, especially when they're from a partner the father didn't like, especially with narcissists like Cody who only value relationships that serve their needs. Polygamy creates this mess. It hurts the kids, it hurts the women, and yes, Robyn deserves blame for her manipulation, but Cody is the ultimate one who's responsible. He's the one with the power. He's the one making the choices. And MyKelti's final assessment destroys any remaining hope for this family's future. MyKelti's final words about her father's apology tour should end any debate about whether reconciliation is possible. She said there are just too many years of pain, too many years of hurt. And because Robyn as a partner is so toxic with Cody, so manipulative, so unstable herself, so based in fear herself, so paranoid herself, they feed on each other's worst personality traits. They bring out the absolute worst in each other, and Robyn goes into places and just causes destruction everywhere she goes. MyKelti even mentioned that if you spoke to Preston's family, Robyn's ex-husband's relatives, they would tell you they knew this was going to happen. MyKelti said she personally spoke to members of Preston's family who told her they knew Robyn would do this to the Browns. They knew she would destroy this family, because she did the exact same thing to them. This is Robyn's pattern. This is who she is, and the Browns walked right into it. But here's what MyKelti keeps coming back to. Cody's also to blame. Cody's the one who chose this. He's the one who brought Robyn into the family. He's the one who prioritized her over everyone else. He's the one who let her manipulate him into abandoning his children. So his apology tour isn't going to work. It can't work because the kids don't want a relationship with him. One apology doesn't change decades of abandonment and neglect and favoritism and lies. And even if the kids were willing to give him a chance, Kody won't change the future. He won't put in the sustained effort required to rebuild trust. He won't show up consistently. He won't prioritize them over Robyn because Robyn won't let him. She's already set up the barriers. She's already created the conditions that make reconciliation impossible. And Kody's already demonstrated that he'll choose her over his children every single time. So where does that leave this family? Kody's estranged from 13 of his 18 children. His relationships with Christine, Janelle, and Mary are destroyed beyond repair. His public reputation is in shambles. And his fake apology tour just got completely dismantled by his own daughter and son-in-law, who exposed exactly how Robyn controls him and why reconciliation will never happen. The whole performance was meaningless from the start. MyKelti and Tony handed us the truth that Kody will never admit. He's not sorry for what he did. He's sorry that people are mad at him about it. He's not trying to repair relationships. He's trying to manage his image. And as long as Robyn's in his ear telling him what to think and how to feel and who deserves his time, nothing's going to change. This family is broken, and Kody Brown broke it. So what do you think? Do you believe Kody will ever genuinely reconcile with his estranged children? Or is MyKelti right that Robyn's control makes it impossible? Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't want to miss what's coming next.